Hi and welcome back to my channel. It's Saturday the 5th of October and we've got a lovely autumn day. Now this is my second recording of this video, and live on the previous recording Joe drew the two winners for these books. Now I'm not going to redraw it live on camera because it wouldn't be fair on the two ladies who won, and you're just going to have to trust me. I am honest, so there you go. The two winners of the books are Linda D and Linda Orme. Okay, we did do it live on video, but as I say, I just totally fluffed up the video and it doesn't seem fair to do it again for those two ladies to miss out. So, the two Lindas, please contact me on my email address, which is janiac, Janiac 7 at googlemail.com. If you let me have an address to send the books to, I'll get them in the post this week. Thanks. I hope you think that's fair. It didn't seem right to redraw it on camera and for those two ladies to miss out, so you're just going to have to trust my honesty and integrity. It's been an interesting week, but I want to touch on something. While I've got Margaret Miles Bramwell, listen to me, I'm all tongue-tied today. While I've got Margaret Miles Bramwell to hand, I want to touch on something that happened to my consultant this week, and she shared in group this morning. I asked her if it was all right to say this, because what usually is said in group stays in group. But Naomi, my consultant, had an opportunity to go to head office yesterday for a, I don't know what the right word would be, a meeting with Margaret Miles Bramwell. 150 consultants went for the day, and there was a meeting in the morning, there was photo opportunities and everything, a really nice lunch in the restaurant at head office. And then afterwards, Margaret did a Q&A for an hour and a half where different consultants could ask her questions about Slimming World, her history, her life, etc. And one of the things that Naomi said, which really surprised me, was she got an opportunity to have a photograph taken with Margaret. Naomi was late getting there. There was a really bad accident on the M1. And while we live really close to head office, it's only 4 junctions up the M1 from where we live, it took her 5.5 hours to get there. And my heart just went out to her, because sitting in a car in a traffic jam on the M1, knowing that the time is just ticking by, and that first of all this is happening and then that's happening. I mean, she was scheduled to get there for 9:15. She got there at 5 to 1. None of her own fault involved. It was purely that some poor souls had been involved in a bad accident and it held the traffic up. So one of the things that Naomi said, and I mean she did tell us quite a lot about it, but it's not for me to say that on my video, that's Naomi's stuff. But one of the things she did say which really fascinated me was that at one point she got to have this photo taken with Margaret as a special request because she'd missed the photo opportunities. And that she stood there and she put her arm around Margaret's shoulder and Margaret put her arm around Naomi's waist. And she said she was quite surprised how small she is. And Naomi is 5'6½", and she said Margaret is probably not quite as tall as me, and I'm 5'2". Now in my head I had this picture of Margaret Miles Bramwell as a lady of about 5'8". I've always imagined she was this like tall, stunning lady. But no, she's not. She's tiny is the word Naomi used to describe her. She's tiny. So I thought that was interesting. They had a really good day. The lunch and the food was fantastic. The meetings were fantastic. Some very good questions were asked of Margaret. And the one thing I think that I like about Margaret more than anything is that she's never lost her down-to-earth ways. Margaret's from Mansfield, which is like 15 miles down the road from us. It's a nice area of Nottinghamshire. But she's a very down-to-earth lady. And I like that, because nothing more imitating than people who come across as all airs and graces, but you know that, you know, if you were on your own with them in the pub, they'd be a different person. But the impression I get about Margaret is that she is, what you see is what you get. I like that. I mean, she might live in Mallorca, she might have a boat and a big house and all those things, but she's never lost touch with her roots. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Right, back on plan this week, and loved it. I decided to make free food my friend. And instead of focusing all my efforts on thinking, is this speed, is this speed, is this speed, I've just literally taken it from the book. If it's free food, I can eat it. I think I've eaten my body weight in potatoes this week because I love potatoes. I'm not a pasta girl, I'm a potato girl. And I have eaten a lot of potatoes this week. In fact, one night I actually had made a corned beef hash. I saw a video of Tanya and she was making corned beef hash, or talking about making corned beef hash, and I thought, oh, she is, since I've had that. So I followed pretty loosely the recipe that she spoke about and used the lean corned beef in the tin, and it came out really nicely. So I had this bowl of corned beef hash ready to have for my tea on Thursday, and Joe was at work and I was hungry. It was 5:30 and I felt like I really wanted something warming. It was pouring with rain. So I actually had 2 jacket potatoes with my corned beef hash. So when I say I feel like I've eaten my body weight in potatoes this week, I really do, because I've just loved them. It's that time of year, isn't it? And the other thing I made this week that I really did enjoy, I was fancying a curry. I'm not a big meat eater, and I had been talking to a really nice lady that I'm in touch with called Shell. And I hope, Shell, I probably should have asked you this before, but I hope you don't mind me mentioning your channel on here. Shell is also a blind lady who has a YouTube channel for Slimming World, and her channel is called Bean Feast 57, I believe. But Shell's a vegan, and I am fascinated by how vegetarians and vegans work this plan, especially the protein side of it. And Shell knows what she's doing because she's been a vegan for a lot of years. And please go over and check out her channel. Give her a look, give her a subscribe, a like, or whatever, comment even. But we've been talking about making dal and things like that, because I like dal. And I jumped up out of my chair after speaking with Shell, and I thought, I want a curry. I really want a curry. So Joe was out, I went into the cupboards, I went into the freezer, I looked what I'd got, and I'd got a bag of frozen butternut squash chunks, I've got a bag of frozen sweet potato chunks. So I got the big Le Creuset pan on the stove, I sprayed a bit of avocado oil in, I chucked the butternut squash and the sweet potato in. I thought, now what? What do you put in with it? Oh, I've got a tin of sweet corn, throw that in. I've got a little tin of petit pois peas, throw that in. Then I made some Kalo organic vegetable stock, just about 220 mils, something like that, with some 2 big heaped teaspoons of korma powder. Mixed all that up, threw it in the pan, stuck the lid on, stuck it on low, I suppose like you would a slow cooker in a way, and left it for 2 hours. I never stirred it, I never touched it. After 2 hours, I just let it sit there and cool down a bit. Then I stirred it, and OMG, oh my God, it was divine. You know, sometimes you'll throw a meal together like that with no recipe and no particular plans, just using up what you've got in the store cupboard or in the fridge or the freezer, and it comes out better than anything you could have planned. Well, it did, and it was delicious. And I love sweet potatoes, and I love butternut squash. Sweet corn and peas are my kind of things. Now, okay, the only thing that went in there that was speed was the butternut squash. And that was probably about 1/3 of the recipe, so that's fine. But it was perfect, and it made 5 nice big portions. So I put 2 in, I had 1 for my lunch, I put 1 in the fridge, put 3 in the freezer. Then I've eaten them during the week, well, apart from 1, still 1 in the freezer. But this morning I woke up, I got out of bed at 7 o'clock, and I thought, I'm going to do it again, because I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. I've had it with rice, I've had it with jacket potatoes. You could have it with meat if you wanted to, you could have it with chicken or whatever. But I don't think, apart from the corned beef, I don't think I've eaten any meat this week. I've been eating fish and vegetarian, and I had 2 vegan days. So I've done it again this morning, got the big Le Creuset pan on the stove, chucked all the stuff in, did exactly the same thing as I did last weekend, and I am trusting it'll come out just as good. And it's sitting on the stove and my kitchen smells lovely. So yeah, that's been really nice this week. Just something so simple, and I think that's what I need, because I am no cook. I'm no Nigella Lawson. I'm no cordon bleu. In fact, I would say that cooking is something that doesn't really even inspire me. I like to keep it as simple as possible. If you can chuck some veg in the steamer, a jacket potato, whatever you want with it, some salmon or some tuna or whatever, that's enough for me. I'm not into all this think food. The more I think about food, the more I obsess about eating. If I just plan to have 3 meals a day and keep it simple, I can do this. I can really do this. Now, one thing I'd like Joe to show you is a packet of microwave rice. Now, I know there's a hell of a lot of choice in rice, and I know a lot of rice is free, but I like convenience. Now, we used to buy Uncle Ben's or Tilda. Both okay, yeah? But this one, Asda, and what does it call itself, Joe?
It's just Asda's long grain rice,
Asda's long grain
micro
rice.
pouch, micro rice.
We keep these in the cupboard because they are 50p in Asda. Now, okay, you might get an Uncle Ben for £1 or something, but I like that better. It's softer, it's more like a steamed effect. Sometimes I find the Uncle Ben one can be a bit dry or a bit grainy. 1.5 sins for the whole thing, and I would eat the whole thing. I mean, I want to be full, I don't want to be faffing around. And one of the things I've said on my channel before, I never do, is I never reheat rice, because it's a massive cause of food poisoning. So yeah, really, really would recommend that. And at 50p a sachet, you really can't go wrong. Even if you're only going to eat half of it and chuck the other half away, you can't go wrong for 50p, can you? So my food this week has been very, very focused on free food, and forget, because before I'd be thinking, oh, I'm going to have that, I'll have parsnips with it, oh, I'm going to have that, I'll have sweet potato with it, oh, I'm going to have that, I'll have whatever. Oh, that's not speed. It's probably a handful of calories extra not to have the speed, and I think for me what's more important is following the plan and not worrying about the speed. I have had periods in my journey when I've been so speed focused that I wouldn't let myself eat a banana, when I've been so speed focused that I wouldn't buy mango, when I've been so speed focused that I wouldn't have cherries. And then in the summer I really got into cherries, because at the end of the day there are very few more calories in cherries than there are in a lot of other berries, and I was becoming so obsessed. And when I become obsessed like that, it's my head's in diet mode. When I start to think about skipping a meal, my head's in diet mode. When I start to think about, oh, I better only have half of that, like the rice or whatever. Like, I'm hungry, I'm going to have 2 jacket potatoes. Oh no, you mustn't, they're not speed. I have to leave some of that nonsense behind, because I've got to try every which way I can to stop falling back into thinking diet and to just get on with enjoying my food again. I've been eating tuna this week. I like tuna, but I only like tuna in oil. For a long time on this plan, I've been buying tuna in brine or tuna in spring water, and I've been eating it and thinking, I don't like that. And then I'd not have it for weeks and weeks and weeks, because just the thought of it, for me, when it's in brine or when it's in spring water, it's dry. I just don't like, just doesn't ring my bell. But this week I've gone back to buying the John West no drain tuna in, I think it's sunflower oil. They used to do it in olive oil, but the only place I can find that one now is in Waitrose. I don't get to Waitrose very often. So I was buying the no drain tuna. It sounds odd to say no drain, but it's in oil. It's a minimum amount of oil, but by God, it makes a difference. And if you're going to put it on a jacket potato, I would rather sin 3 sins, or, yeah, I think it's 3, because on the app it gives you the sinnage for it, but it's giving you the slightly bigger tin, and they sin that at 3.5. So because there's less tuna in the fridge pot, which is, I buy the fridge pots, I sin that at 3. I'd rather spend 3 sins on the oil in my tuna than scrimp and scrape to save those 3 sins and say at the end of the day I've had 3 sins less, or spend sins on things like salad cream, because I'd use a lot more than 3 sins worth. So yeah, that's been good this week. I've truly, truly enjoyed those sort of meals. As I say, I think I've had 2 vegan days, 2 vegetarian days, and 3 days when I've had corned beef hash or been eating fish. And it's balanced out nicely. Went into group this morning thinking I haven't had one hungry moment this week where I felt like I'm hungry but I mustn't eat, or I'm hungry but I've got to desperately, and I've been reaching for all the wrong things. I've had a pleasantly full week and got on the scales this morning and lost 3 pounds, which is a really nice result. I'm pleased with that. I went in there thinking, as long as I've had a loss, I don't care if it's only half a pound. And I think that's the attitude I need to adopt. Walking wise this week, nil. I think last Saturday we went for a walk to Tesco, didn't we? But apart from that, Joe has been so busy. He's been at the house all week. So my walking partner just wasn't available. And I've kept myself busy in the house, but I must admit I've spent an awful lot of time reading this week. I think I've read 4.5 books this week. I finished off a whole series by L.J. Ross about Detective Chief Inspector Ryan. Read the first book of the series and hated it, and then my friend persuaded me to keep going, and this week I've read the last 4 in the series and really enjoyed them. And another book I've read, thanks to a lady who comments regularly on my channel, Sue Haywardall. Hi Sue. Sue recommended a book, and now I'm just going to say it, the title totally escapes me, Rubbernecker, or Rubberneckers, by Belinda Bowers. Not the kind of book I would usually read, but I love a book recommendation, so if anybody has any, I'll give them a go. I started the book and I thought, oh, I'm not sure, but I'm going to finish this book, and I've kept going. And Sue, for your information, I'm up to the bit where Dr. Spicer is trying to get the head back, so you'll know where I am. No spoilers for anybody who wants to try and read this book. It's very different. But it's brought up a few issues, and it's made me think about a few things. It's made me think about how I respond to people who have different needs to me. It's made me think about how I respond to death and such like. But thank you for the recommendation, Sue. I won't say I've thoroughly enjoyed the book. I've quite enjoyed it, and it's not something I would have ever picked up without your recommendation. But I'm glad I've read it. And I know from Audible and different libraries I belong to that Belinda has several other books that might be worth taking a look at. What else have I done this week? I tell you, I've barely left the house this week because it's one of those weeks where some weeks I go to visit quite a few friends, but this week it was my turn for them to come to me. So I've had people for coffee 3 days this week without even leaving my own doorstep. The gardener was round doing his stuff, getting the garden sorted for the winter, so there you see, you can spend money without even leaving your chair. And the one thing I did treat myself to this week, which is something I do only once a year, I had a professional chappie in to clean my cooker. My cooker's not that bad. I don't let it get into a state, and I mean, he tells me some real tales about some of the cookers that he goes to, but I just like, I mean, we can all clean our own cookers. I don't think many of us would actually enjoy that job. Well, I certainly don't. But my lovely friend Dawn said, I wish I lived near her, I'd have done it for you. And I know she would have done, and she'd have done it happily. But I just like, once a year, to have this professional company from up the road come down to do it. And honest to goodness, I don't know if you've ever felt like you'd like to try something like this, but my cooker, when he's done it, is like a new cooker. And it wasn't that bad. I'm going to be perfectly honest, it wasn't that bad. But it's like starting over with a brand new cooker. And because I have solid plates on top of my cooker, he re-blacks them properly like he would an Arga thing and everything. And it's just a joy to cook on it now. My mum said, once it's done, you won't want to cook. But actually, it has the opposite effect on me. It makes me want to cook. So, yeah. And that was £59 out of my birthday money. And I do it each year thinking, yeah, use your money that people give you for your birthday for something that makes you feel good. So at one time I'd have just gone out and bought a load of candles. I love a Jo Malone candle and things like that. But I could spend more than that on a Jo Malone candle and still have a mucky cooker, couldn't I? So, yeah, that was a really nice thing I did for myself. I paid the guy, he did the work. An hour and a half you get. That doesn't imply my cooker was filthy, honestly it doesn't. It's just such a nice thing because it finishes your kitchen off. So for anybody who's ever thought about it, I would recommend it, do it. And it's a different price in every area, because when my mum lives in Lincolnshire, she pays £40. Here it's £59. I think it's £59 well spent out of my birthday money. I feel like I've done something really positive for myself. Have I got anything else on my list, Joe, that I meant to mention today? I can't think that I have.
No, that's everything.
Yeah. It's been that kind of week. Joe's got a bit more time this week, so I'm hoping we might get 1 or 2 walks in. But I think something we were talking about in group this morning, Body Magic is wonderful and it is the icing on a cake, but the main focus on losing weight with Slimming World is the food. It's not about, I mean, years ago they didn't promote exercise, and it's a good thing that they do today, because mentally and physically exercise is good for all of us. But my point is, if you are somebody who can't do a massive amount of exercise for whatever reason, and there are a lot of people with physical problems who just don't have that choice to make, don't feel like you're in a worse position than everybody else. I can't go running around the block and things like that. I'm blind, for goodness sake. I'm dependent on somebody else going for a walk with me. I can do stuff in my own house. I can put some loud music on, close the blinds and dance, which I've done a bit of that this week. But only because it was the music that got me going. I didn't stop and think, I'm going to close the blinds and put the music on, I'm going to dance. I was actually cleaning the windows, that's what got me going. And then the music just took over. But if you feel like, you know, you're not, you've got a lot of weight still to lose, you're in a similar position to where I started, you've got a physical problem, you've got a bad back, you've got a bad leg, whatever, if you can't run and jump and leap around the gym and do all these things, please don't think that means you can't lose weight. It doesn't, because my consultant started her weight loss journey with a really bad back injury. And she lost all of her weight doing no exercise. And she's kept it off for 8 years and she looks awesome. And okay, yeah, today she walks more than she used to. But she's not a girl that can go to the gym and jump around and leap about and do all those sort of things. And, you know, I would say it's 90% what you eat and 10% exercise. And if the only exercise you can do is like me and it's a walk, if you're lucky enough to get out there. And as I say, this week, nothing. We walked to Tesco and back on Saturday, and that's the limit of my body magic, in quotes, this week. But I still lost £3. And I really believe I lost that £3 because I stuck 100% to plan. There were times when I could have just thrown the towel in and thought, why am I doing this? My head's still not in the best of places, but it's in a better place. And I feel like I've stayed to group this morning. I've listened to Naomi talking about meeting Margaret Miles Bramwell and about Margaret's story and where Margaret started and how far she's come weight-wise and everything. And I imagined Margaret Miles Bramwell started Slimming World with 1.5 stone to lose. She did not. I'm not going to give any spoilers from the book. I'm not going to repeat anything Naomi's told us this morning. But Margaret did not start this journey with 1, 2 or 3 stone to lose. She was at a far bigger disadvantage than that, and she did it. If she can do it, we can do it. And I think for me again, I want to go forward this week looking at my own plan and focusing on free foods. My sins every day this week have been between 7.5 and 10. I'm sticking to what it says in that book. For maximum weight loss, food optimise and 10 sins. That's what they recommend. And I can see why they recommend it, because I could do it and have no sins. I could do it and have 2 sins. But when I stop doing that part of it and I go back to having 10 to 15 sins, the weight will come back. I've tried all these things in 4 years and I know what works. It's just my stubborn old head keeps going, try it this way again, have a go at this, cheat that, treat that. No. I feel like now my head is back in gear and I want to get this weight off. This morning I weighed 9 stone 10. I don't want to weigh 9 stone 10 again next week. I want to be going down. And even if that's £0.5 pound a week in the right direction, I'll be very happy with that. We had a lady this morning who was Slimmer of the Week, lost £4 and got a target. So don't let anybody tell you if you're £4 away from target, that's going to take you 6 weeks to get there. You can lose it in a chunk and get to target. It isn't harder to lose weight when you're near target. It just means you just have to tighten up your plan a bit. We can do this. We've all got the power within ourselves to do it. So there's me on my soapbox again. I'm going because I'm parched. I'm ready for a coffee. But thank you for listening. Thank you for those who put in their comments to attempt to win the book. Much appreciated. And as I say, the 2 winners are Linda D and Linda Orm. Cheers everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.